I understand that Marshall was really great and made a big impression on you yesterday. I hadn't been in the building 5 minutes before people were asking me, "Are you going to ask us any questions? Are you going to make us answer questions?" And then they asked me, "You're not going to make us turn to each other and share, are you?" So let's just get that one out of the way, okay? I'd like you to turn to your partner, the person next to you. If you would just do that, turn to the person next to you. Look them in the eye and say with all the sincerity that you have, "Get away from me." We're really looking for something really big that we could do together. And in 2009, we found it. It was a 3-year case study of a group of engineers in India who got tired of seeing whole families in India riding on a scooter and then getting killed in traffic. So they set out to see if they could figure out how to make a car for the price of scooter, a car that a family would want to own and that would survive the roads of India. And so we set out and really worked on this project, and that's what the book is about. Now, this is a pretty common sight in India. Those of us here would look at that. If we saw that in the streets of Chicago, we would say, "Are these people nuts?" But they're not nuts at all. They're just unstoppable. India is the most enthusiastic and optimistic country on earth. Talk about trends. India is a trend all in itself. And this family, they're educated, they probably speak English, they're on their way, they want to be part of the world economy, they want to be part of the game we're playing in, and they're just so excited about it. So they've got to get these girls to school. Look at the intelligence in those eyes. Grandpa's not so sure. But look at the confidence in mom and dad. They are on the way to the future, and if the only way they can get there is on that scooter, then by God, they're going. Nothing's going to stop them. Now, you may ask, why don't they take the train? Well, here's why. The trains are really crowded in India. The infrastructure is not so great. You better get on the scooter and go. So these engineers set out to see if they could actually find a way to take 70% of the cost out of every part in a car and still have a car that somebody would want to own. As a result, Suzuki, who owned 50% of the market in the lower end of the cheapest cars, said, we don't know how to do that. What are you talking about? That can't be done. And then when they did it, Suzuki said, "Game over, we're done." They walked away from a 50% market share that they had owned for 3 decades because they couldn't compete with what these other people had done. Another result is a lot of the big OEM parts manufacturers in the world, like Delco and Bosch and Visteon, worked on this project. And partly as a result of that, the current model, this year's model of Volkswagen Passat, will cost you $7,100 less than last year's model. And the upcoming next generation Range Rover, big SUV, will weigh 1,100 pounds less than the current model. Now think about that. That's a 20% weight reduction. It's going to be more fun to drive and more fun to fill up at the pump. And by the way, these same engineers are Tata Motors in India, who in 2008 bought a Jaguar Land Rover out of bankruptcy from Ford, turned it around in 3 years, now are profitable, making money and making great cars. So these are people from whom one can learn a few things. And one of the things we learn is a whole new wave of innovation that we call nanovation, which is revolutionary design using more with less that takes a cause and does something really worth doing that's important in the world. The other thing we learned is in this new economy, companies have a choice. You're going to either have to innovate or perish. So let's break that down a little bit. I like the way Tom Friedman says it. In today's world, whatever can be done will be done. The only question is, Will it be done by you or to you? Right now, somebody is out there trying to find a revolutionary innovation that's going to change the business model in your business, whether that's hotels, travel, or restaurant. Doesn't matter whether they're in Indiana or India, somebody's going to do it. Why shouldn't it be you? And when I say you, I don't mean your brand or Carlson as a company. I mean the finance team. I mean you. Why shouldn't you, instead of finance being the place where good ideas come to die, why shouldn't finance be the place where I would bring my idea so you could help me make it all that it could be? What if you were the ones in the company who were setting the new paradigms? What if you were taking operations to the point where you could be so effective and so efficient that no one else could compete with you on a dollar-for-dollar basis? Why not you? Somebody's going to do it. Why shouldn't it be you? Well, you say, you know, I'm in finance. I can't do it from the seat I'm in. I'm just in legal. Well, the history of the world is the story of men and women selling themselves short. So stop it already. So where do you start? Trudy talked yesterday about looking for trends and getting out ahead of the trends so you can mitigate risks and protect cash flows. And today we have some monster trends ahead of us that we've got to get out and ahead of. So today I want to talk about three trends in particular. One is a trend in technology, one is a trend in design, and one is a trend in cultures of companies. The accelerating rate of change is something that's very hard for us to see because we tend to see things in a linear fashion. As human beings, we live our lives in a linear way, one day at a time, sunrise, sunset, and everything seems to have a logical linear path. But that's not the way the world is changing around us. Paradigm shifts tend to come in big waves and big changes, and they change everything. So about 3000 AD, we had wheels and metal tools. And then really no more technological advancements for about 4,000 years. Then starting at about 1000 AD, we started to get real big paradigm shifts in technology every 2 or 3 centuries, to the point where in the 19th century, we started to have a century of change where there was more change technologically than in the entire 1,000 years before. And then in the 20th century, the first 25 years, we had more change than in the entire century before, to the point where now we're having a paradigm shift in technology every 7 to 8 years. Well, if you're planning your business based on what's happened in the last few years, last decade, then you're going to be significantly off as you plan forward. Case in point, in the year 1999, a Nobel laureate at a conference made the statement that it would be, before we had true artificial intelligence, it would be at least 100 years. And he was correct based on the rate of change in 1999. But because the rate of change is changing every 7 to 8 years, we're going to have true artificial intelligence probably in the middle of the next decade, maybe 2025. That's how fast things are changing. So ask yourself this. You come into your office every morning, you sit down at your desk, and you spend all day really focused on the stuff that you know is really important. But what else are you missing? And I would put it to you, listening particularly to the guys this afternoon, I would put it to you that who else in the business is going to be able to identify these trends and see what's going on if it's not you in finance? What you're doing is really critical to showing people the things they can't see because they're focused on the customers or they're focused on whatever part of the business they're focused on.